Hello everyone, my name is Abdel-Rahman, and today I would like to demonstrate how can one create a virtual machine on his computer where you can run EGS and RC Monte Carlo simulations, taking advantage of parallel processing, especially if that virtual machine is a Linux machine such as Ubuntu. VirtualBox could be installed on a Mac or on a Windows or on a Linux host system. And by host system is the operating system that is currently running on your desktop or laptop computer. So first, you need to go to their website, virtualbox.org, and download VirtualBox. And you would then select the version that is suitable for the host system. For example, if your computer is Windows, then you would install it, you would download the Windows version, or my computer is a Mac, so I would demonstrate using VirtualBox on a Mac operating system. So after you download VirtualBox and install it on your operating system, you need to then go and download an ISO image of a Linux distribution that you prefer. In this demonstration, I'm going to use Ubuntu. When you go to Ubuntu website, you can go and click on download and download Ubuntu Desktop 20.04 long-term support LTS. So the next step is you need to open, after installing VirtualBox, run the application, and you're going to get a window similar to what's displayed on the screen now. To create a virtual machine, we'll click on the new button here, and we need to give our virtual machine a name. So I'm going to call it Ubuntu. And the memory size, I'm going to increase this to 4 gigs, and going to just create the virtual machine. Hit on create button. It will prompt me, needs to know what's the space I'm going to allocate for the virtual machine. This depends on how you are going to use the virtual machine. For example, if you want the EGS files as well as the phase-space files to be contained inside your virtual machine, then probably you need to give more space for the virtual machine. In my case, and that would be my recommendation, is to actually keep your data files on your host system, let that be Windows or Mac, and we're going to share a folder from your host system into the Ubuntu virtual machine. The reason why I think this is an advantage is if, for example, something happens to your virtual machine, it gets corrupted, you can just simply reinstall or recreate a virtual machine and so on, without really losing any of the data that were generated with EGS. So in this case, I would recommend to use to allocate only 10 gigs of your hard disk space. And this, by the way, is not is going to be dynamically increased as more data or more applications are installed on the virtual machine. Then the hard disk is going to become bigger in size. But if you wish, you can actually just select fixed size, and then it will just allocate immediately 10 gigs of your current hard drive into the virtual machine. So I'm going to hit on create, and now the virtual machine is listed here on the left panel. And here you can see the information about our virtual machine, the name, the system, the RAM, and the boot orders, and so on. Even the graphics memory. And you will immediately find that the machine will have two storage drives. One is your physical, or your virtual hard drive, 10 gigs, and the other one is just an optical drive that resembles the CD-ROM in a real computer. So the next step is we're going to click on the optical drive, and we're going to mount the ISO image of Ubuntu that we have downloaded. My file is listed already. My system detected the location of the ISO file, but you can go and select it manually by choosing choose a disk file and then browse and select the file manually. So I'm going to select this, and I'm going to hit the start button. So now the virtual machine is going to boot. So once we get this window, we're going to select install Ubuntu. You can select the language here. I'm going to keep it English, and the keyboard layout is English. On the type installation, I'm going to select minimum installation. I'm going to use the virtual machine just for running EGS simulations, but if you want to explore more with Linux and have let's say a spreadsheet or a word processor, or maybe the games or some other utilities, maybe you should go with normal installation. Although if you selected minimum installation, you can always add or install the packages later on. So for the time being, I'm going to keep it to minimum installation, and I'm going to keep this clicked download updates while installing Ubuntu. So next, we're going to select or keep this selected, erase disk, and install Ubuntu. So I'm going to hit on continue. I think next is going to be the time zone, and that's it. Yes, so Riyadh, that's where I'm at, Dammam in Saudi Arabia. Last thing is just gonna keep enter some information about myself as a user, and this will be the computer name, and this will be the user ID, and I'm gonna put my super secret password. Since I'm going to use I'm the only one who's going to use this virtual machine, probably I'm going to select login automatically. I don't want to be prompted every time I boot up the virtual machine to enter my password. And now the installation is going to begin, and is going to download any updates from the net. And I will see you when the installation finishes. So now the installation has finished, and we need to restart the computer. Of course, the computer means the virtual machine, so this does not mean you restart your host computer itself. So we're going to click on restart now. So now the virtual machine rebooted, and we have Ubuntu Linux installed. I'm going to skip this, So there are a few things that I'm going to do now. First, I would like to change, I will go to the settings, and I'm going to change the region and language, the format. These are my preferences, so you can do whatever you want on your virtual machine. And the next step is I'm going to update the system. So with Linux, probably using the terminal is probably the most powerful way, and I encourage you to always use the terminal if possible. So I've opened a new terminal, and the way to update the system in Ubuntu is we type sudo, because we want to launch this as a by the way, there is a graphical user interface for updating the system, but I prefer to use the terminal. So sudo is basically to execute a certain command as an administrator. So the way I look at sudo is super user do. Okay, so as a super user, do this. Okay, so sudo apt and then update, and we need to enter our password, super secret password. And basically with this command, it's checking in the repositories of Ubuntu if there are any updated packages compared to what's installed on the system. So sudo apt update. Now it found that, okay, there are 45 packages that could be upgraded. Then we will repeat this as sudo apt upgrade now, and we will hit enter. It's probably, these are the list of packages that are going to be upgraded, and it's prompting us if you want to continue. So I will hit Y and enter. So package upgrade has now finished. Then the next step is we need to add or install some guest additions from VirtualBox. These are packages that will allow us to, for example, resize the screen or the virtual machine dynamically and so on. It will also help us mounting the shared folders from our host computer into the virtual machine. So to do that, we will click on Insert Guest Addition CD Image. And we get this window here. Probably there are packages that we need to install, but I'm going to take you through this. So basically it's going to install some modules and recompile, I think, the kernel, but it cannot do that because there are packages that needs to be in our system installed. And these are the three packages: the GCC, make, and pair. So to install them, then we'll go back, sudo, and then apt, but now we'll use the word install, and then GCC, that's one package, and make, and then pair. These are three packages. So I'm gonna hit yes. So the three packages now have been installed. Let's try to again, I'm gonna unmount or reject the CD, and then go back to the devices here, insert the CD again, and it will auto launch, and we'll click on run with our super secret password. So installation has finished for the modules. And just let me show you an advantage of what's going to happen now. You see, when I resize my window for the virtual machine, the desktop of the virtual machine remains fixed in size. I think the current resolution is, if you change background and we look into the appearance, go to the appearance. Maybe it's time, yes. So I'm going to select dark mode. I want to use dark mode. And unknown display. Okay. I don't know where it is. I forgot where we're going to find how to set the resolution of the system. But my point is that this has a fixed size, and I think currently it's display settings. Yes, it's under display settings. And if I go there, yes, the resolution is 800 by 600. But we want the Ubuntu desktop to fill, for example, the window, whatever window size we're going to allocate for it. So after this is available, this will be available now after rebooting the system, because we have installed the guest additions. So to reboot the system, we can click on this arrow here, power off, and then power off, restart, or just we can use the terminal. So the terminal, we'll do sudo and then type reboot. And since terminal is, I'm going to use that a lot, then on this icon on the side panel, I'm going to right click and add that to favorites. So now it's always going to be there. Whenever I need the terminal, I'm going to click on it and it's there. So let's reboot the system and let's see what will happen now. So the system has rebooted with a resolution of 800 by 600. But see what happens now when I increase this window. See the desktop of Ubuntu, or actually Ubuntu, the resolution will just fit the window that I've selected. You can even make it go for full screen. The next step is to mount a directory from our host system into Ubuntu, into our virtual machine. So here I have actually under my Mac, this is Mac, I have this directory called FaceSpace file that I would like to actually mount into my Ubuntu machine. So the way to do this, let's shut down the system. So now I'm going to not reboot, I'm going to shut down. So we'll use another command, sudo shut down, and then now. Okay, so it will immediately shut down the system, or the computer, the virtual computer. And we will go to settings. We can remove this. Okay, and then we can go to settings. And by the way, you can just go and change now the processors. Let's use 8 cores, and we'll go to shared folder, and here is where I'm going to select the individual folders that I want to mount on our virtual machine. So we're going to click on this icon here and select the folder path. So it is this one. Okay, and I want this to auto mount, and I'm going to mount it in a folder under my home name, home area. So /home/wabdel, that is my home area. /home/ your username is going to be your home area, and you can mount things, you can write things in that home area when you log in. So I'm going to mount it, and under a directory under WABDEL called PHSP. Okay, hit on OK, and then click OK. You can mount multiple directories. Let's do that. So I'm going to add another folder, and I'm going to share another folder. So it's going to be the EJS home, and that will be auto mount, and I'm going to also mount it under EJS home. Well, let's do a third folder. Okay. And these are the three folders that are important for EJS: henhouse, eggs, home, your home area, and the face space file is, I like to keep the face space files that I use for simulations into a separate folder. So this one is going to also be home, WABDEL, and then henhouse. Okay. Enter. So notice that these folders are empty except for the face space file. So the face space folder, I already have face space files in that folder. But if we look at the henhouse folder, for example, it's empty, and the eggs home is empty. These two folders, I will use them. Probably I'm going to make another video about this. I'm going to use them to install the EJS system or files into these shared folders. So now we're going to start. So after booting the system, then if I click on the terminal and type dir, this will list the files or directories under my home area, and we can see the three folders are there: EJS home, henhouse, and PHSP. So let's go and see what's let's go inside list the files in the PHSP, and you will find that permission is denied. I cannot, although the folders are mounted, I cannot use the files there. I cannot read or write to that folder actually. And the last, so to fix this problem is we need to add ourselves to a group, VirtualBox group. So we will type sudo and then user mod. So that means modified user, which is going to be WABDEL, and I'm going to type A and G. I want to modify the group for that user, add it to a certain group, and that group is going to be VBox SF. And which user that's going to be? That's going to be WABDEL. So I'm modifying this user by adding or allowing it to be part of the group, this group. So when I do that, and now we can go and actually inside the I think we need to reboot, so let's reboot one more time. Okay, we booted again, rebooted the system, and let's try our luck. So CD, and there it is. So now I can actually see the files from my virtual machine, and just to prove that I can write something there. So we'll open the folder here on my Mac, and I'm gonna just create a blank file, okay, and I'm gonna call it I can write a file. That's the file name. So touch, and you can immediately see that the file is there. It's a 0 bytes, but that's the file. So we can read and we can write to these 3 folders. I hope this video, I hope you enjoyed this video and learned how to create an Ubuntu virtual machine on your computer. And please leave comments, subscribe to this channel, and like this video and share it with colleagues who probably might be interested in EGS simulations. Until my next video, take care.